Welcome to the Real Chili Podcast.
And the Golden Eagles of Marquette University in Milwaukee are bound for the Final Four for only the third time ever.
5 seconds left. Marquette down by one, trying to avoid the upset. Blue the drive, the left hand. It's good. 1 second to play. Vander Blue has put Marquette in front by one.
And I want to win every day as basketball players, as students, and I want to win every day, most importantly, as people.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Real Chili Podcast. Another thrilling Marquette defeat, this time at the hands of the Villanova Wildcats at home, 85-68. Neighbor Pete Worth joins me today as our only other panelist. And, hey, I think we were due for a 27-point whooping at the hands of a top 10 team. What about you?
Yeah, this is how that game made me feel. I will be discussing the rest of the game like this, Pete.
Well, I appreciating you masking up for this episode. It's the safe thing to do. I recognize the bag over the head move as a Lions fan. That's
it's a classic
move.
It's a go-to, and better paper than plastic, as they say, as the environmentalists say. But
if we start winning, you might recycle that.
But what an embarrassing performance from Marquette tonight. Started off okay, and at the halftime, we all thought that 6-point game. If we just stop turning the ball over or limit our turnovers, make our free throws, we'll be right there, throughout the game. And it did not end up like that. And Villanova just took it to us, outclassed us, outplayed us, outsmarted us, and I thought especially outcoached us in this one. Usually, I stand by Wojo for the most part, but this was a bad performance all around from him, from the team, offensively, defensively, in every aspect possible of basketball. This was bad.
It was the perfect storm, I think one might say, of just all of our glaring weaknesses kind of happening at once. I think to start everything off, and you mentioned it, neighbor, is the turnover issues. This was once again a game where Marquette crapped the bed turnover-wise, 17 turnovers, turned it over on over a quarter of our possessions, whereas the Villanova Wildcats turned the ball over only 4 times. We lost the turnover margin by 13 turnovers, and frankly, it doesn't matter if you're playing the number 5 team in the country. If you lose the turnover battle by 13, it's going to be hard to give that other team 13 extra possessions, and you end up with more points. So start to end with that. And then I want to mention the free throws too. Both teams shot 16 free throws, and Villanova made 14. We made 7. That's not on Wojo. That's 7 points that the team left on the floor.
Yeah, but free throws are not why we lost. I mean, it's in the first half when it was a close game. It was the turnovers for sure. And Villanova is not like this stalwart defensive team. Like, yeah, they're 30, or now 31 in KenPom overall, but their percentages, they're 250 effective field goal percentage defense in the country, 248 from 3-point, and 211 from 2. I mean, they are good and they are sound. I would call them sound defensively, but they're exploitable. And we exploited that in the first half by pushing the tempo and getting open looks. And then the second half, I think I got the sense that we came out in this zone, which I was, I agreed to throw it at him a couple times, and yeah, we did kind of maybe disrupt them a couple times when we first started it. But you can't play zone for 20 consecutive possessions against Villanova before they start burning you. And it was like, it made no sense. And so by the time that Colin Gillespie continued to get open looks and drain them on us, it was like, what are we doing?
There was in this game, it never felt like we had a run in us. And
not in the second half. No,
it was a combination of, well, I think we should set aside a little time here later in the pod just to talk about defense in general. But the offense never felt like they found something they were comfortable going to repeatedly against this defense. And you talked about, like, it's not an unbeatable defense. It's not like they have also some insane personnel where they're super long. Like, they have a fairly modest lineup size-wise, I would say. I think overall, I just want to pause and just say it never felt like these were two teams that were, on different playing fields, recruiting-wise or personnel-wise.
Right.
It seemed like both lineups fairly evenly matched, fairly evenly athleticism. I think obviously Villanova has a little bit more experience, especially with Gillespie running the point. Certainly, a seasoned field general there, but I don't know. It just seemed like
they're an experienced team. Like,
they were more comfortable in playing their game, and Marquette showed once again that they have no go-to game.
Right. Well, that's Villanova basketball. I mean, that's how they've played for under Jay Wright for a very long time. It's how they won 2 national championships.
Yeah.
He recruits the guys that play his game, and they do it really well. But yeah, to your point, we match up with them size-wise and athleticism-wise, but where we are deficient is the smarts and the skill that they play with, and the cohesion that they play with, and the identity that they have. I
don't know how much do you devote skill to the turnover issue?
A lot. I mean,
Really?
The ability to hold on to the ball and the smarts to not, when you get the ball, be quick with your decision making. Either take a dribble, pass it, or shoot it. And they are exceptional at that. Triple threat, as all JV.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Their execution.
And sure, but that is part of basketball skill, is being able to make those decisions quickly and efficiently without giving up the ball. And they do that better than anybody in the country, and they have for a long time.
So what does this team need to do to improve their quick twitch decision making other than just getting more minutes playing together? I mean, like,
get players that are better at it than the ones that we currently have.
I mean, but like, how do you? It's not like Jay Wright is pulling in Kentucky level recruiting classes year after year. I mean, sure, he's got some pretty decent recruiting classes have come in to Villanova, but like, this is more about his coaching and his system and developing his player. He has a good system where obviously Gillespie is not like a one and done type guy. He's a guy that he's groomed as a point guard for several years, but I don't know. It just seems like there's a lot of avoidable turnovers on the Marquette end still. Things that we've harped on, like entry passes, lazy passes on the perimeter that lead to easy breakouts. And I mean, that's just my question about the skill thing, is other than like Samir Torrance's inability to force a defense to guard at all, other than just dribbling left and dribbling right and then passing it off to someone. Like, what others? I don't know. What skills are we looking for out of these guys offensively?
Well, I think I mean, I've said it time and time again, is that the ability to create offense with the ball in your hands. And DJ Carton is the best at it on this team by far. Kobe is okay at it, but Kobe, if he's got the ball in his hands and is driving, he's not going to get an easy bucket. Everything that he gets to the basket is tough. And when he goes into the lane, he doesn't have the athleticism. He doesn't have a pull-up jumper that's very good. He tends to get into the middle of the lane and do this pivot foot back and forth, whereas my head starts spinning, and then he tries to throw a fadeaway jump shot in there that doesn't work. And so that's the thing, is that knowing your own strengths and weaknesses, I think, is a major part of this team. And Jamal Cain, I think, played a fantastic game with regards to that. Had a great shot, was shooting it very well, rebounding it very well. But
played assertively.
Played assertively. Started out strong and then kind of disappeared, as the offense just deteriorated. I want to kind of go back to the zone. Our good friend, who hopefully we'll meet at Major Goolsby sometime, Artie Sheboygan, who's always on our YouTube chats, commenting, I bet Wojo thought he was so smart throwing out a zone, and I have to laugh at that because I agree with it. And I don't hate that he went to a zone, but like I said before, you can only go to it for a couple possessions versus Nova before they start realizing it and punishing you for it. And I thought that in the second half, when Wojo continued to go with the zone and Nova started figuring it out, it kind of demoralized our guys. It was like, we're playing this zone, they're hitting open threes because we're not closing out high enough. Our offense has been struggling for the most part anyway. And that's what really set them, kind of took off Villanova's game. And then after that, we go into desperation mode, and Wojo's just trying to do anything he can to change the outcome of the game, and throws in Torrance and Akano and Oso and Greg all at the same time. And I'm just like, well, that's a fucking white flag. Good Lord.
Yeah, he came in with the hockey shift because obviously things weren't going right with the main guys. But I don't blame him for throwing in some guys that might come out there with some defensive energy and activity. I think Greg came in and gave us some good minutes there, even if they were garbage minutes. Like, he was out there playing quickly and making smart decisions while he was out there. But I don't know. I was tired of seeing a lot of those starters out there anyways, because they weren't playing with the want to come back in this game, in my opinion.
I totally agree with that, except it's just like, when your next rotation are those guys compared to Villanova's starters, it's like they're going to have a hell of a time trying to get us back in the game. You know what I mean? I agree it was warranted, but even though it was, Jay Wright was probably looking at that like Joe Biden was looking at Rudy Giuliani at 4 Seasons Total Landscape.
I think one of the biggest frustrations defensively, and this was in the first half as well, while the game was still close, was just our unwillingness to close out on Gillespie's 3-point shot.
Yes, thank you. Let's get to that, please.
I don't understand. No one else. I'm looking through the box score.
Made no sense.
Cole Swider, 1 for 6 on threes. Justin Moore, 2 for 7 on threes. Caleb Daniels, 2 for 6 on threes. The ability to make those guys miss shots, I don't know. Gillespie, they were leaving him open, and he's obviously – they made him look like Chris Paul out there tonight. I was like, this is exactly. Chris Paul.
Yeah.
Do I need to call State Farm? Because we're getting Chris Paul out here.
I reckon you might. Yeah, we were switching on him in the beginning of the first half, and Theo John was on him, not getting out to close out on him. Our guards weren't getting out to close out on him, and then we went to the zone, and part of that zone after it worked a couple of possessions, which was like, all right, this is too good to be true. It had its effect. Let's go back to man-to-man. Kobe and Greg were sitting there on the wing with Gillespie in front of them and making their rotation, but they're not big or athletic enough to close out on Gillespie when they reverse the ball. And it's
not a good defensive scheme against them.
No, it's horrible.
Gillespie is, like you said, he's not Derrick Rose out there with athleticism.
No, but he's a solid player.
He's a solid player, and that's why man-to-man defense is the right call against a Colin Gillespie and against Villanova as a whole, is because these are guys who aren't more athletic or larger than us necessarily, guys that physically we could match up with and keep pace with. And if we theoretically have a deep bench, we can bring guys in and switch and run with these guys. But instead, we let Gillespie and the rest of them off the hook with a zone. We don't use our physical attributes to keep pace with them. And we play a defense we're probably not as comfortable playing and not as experienced playing, and not, if you're playing like a legit zone and that's part of your scheme, then your team knows the nuances and where to expect and where to help. This team is nowhere near ready for that to deploy like a zone on a regular basis against a top 5 team and expect to know how to leverage that the right way. But like we just mentioned, it wasn't the right call from a personnel standpoint anyways. Even if it was, they would have burned us. But in this case, it was bad scheme. It was poor effort. It didn't seem like the guys were hustling out there. And then it was just reckless with the ball.
Yeah, they demoralized us in the beginning of the second half. And we kind of lost all of our want to, I thought, in that first 10 minutes. We couldn't do anything on offense. Our offense was DJ Carton getting a high ball screen, either turning it over or making a pass. And the thing that I hate about our offense is that we have 4 guys standing around way too much, just standing there. I mean, we'll go back and watch the film of most of our games. It's like DJ's got the ball, he gets a high ball screen, and the other guys are just standing there. Whereas you watch Villanova and their sets and their movement, everybody's cutting, everybody's moving at all times, and Creighton's the same way. And I feel like that I know that we have to play to our personnel, and Theo John is a cog, and he's a key contributor to our team. But if you have him and Dawson Garcia on the floor at the same time, that's just 2 big guys that are right now. I think Dawson has more ability to adapt to this, but it's just 2 big guys kind of taking up space down low. And that's not how the modern game is played.
And we can't have 9 combined turnovers from our 2 biggest players.
The turnovers are just yeah.
We saw bad Theo again today. He had an offensive rating of 86 and 4 turnovers versus only 5 field goal attempts for Theo. And it's like, hey, it's great. He's shooting 60, 70% from the field on those hook shots. But if he only gets to attempt that shot once, every other possession because he's turning it over on the other one, then that's still it's not an efficient play. It was beautiful in the last game against Xavier and resulted in a loss. Still, it was beautiful to see his improved footwork and his nice hook shot. That's a nice to have when he has a isolation, he's deep in the paint, he has a matchup that he wants, and that's an easy bucket. But that isn't and never should be the way that our offense starts. We shouldn't start our offense by pitching it into the post to Theo John.
Theo John, right?
It's just
exactly.
No,
exactly.
It's not. That's like throwing it into Jameel Lott as your offense.
Hey,
I'm
Not
sure
Jamil
Jamil is listening right now, and shout out to Jamil.
Don't you
right
dare.
You're listening. But come on, I mean,
yes, exactly. You're exactly right. And Artie Sheboygan says again, and from Alan Bukowski, another great listener of ours, we had a better effective field goal percentage than Villanova tonight, and lost by 17. Like, that's what turnovers do to your team. If you can't get a shot on, a quarter of your possessions, then that's what happens. And it's everybody. I mean, it is everybody committing these atrocious turnovers. So how do you correct that? I don't know. It's been a problem for Wojo's teams for 7 years. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there are some issues that are just related to the players, like DJ Carton. I mean, other than Henry Ellenson's pretty decent handle and Marcus Howard's relatively decent handles, this team, like, for whatever reason, has just had fairly limited ball handling abilities from the backcourt. Mm-hmm. And with this team, the bugaboos are Kobe McEwen tends to dribble it a bit high. Credit to Kobe. He did only have one turnover in 27 minutes today. It was his shooting that was inefficient, just going 2 of 10 from the field for Kobe today. But I don't know. It just feels like unless DJ Carton is making an elite play with his quickness in splitting a double team or getting into the paint somehow, or if we're passing the ball enough that it rotates a defense that gives someone a drive or an open passing lane, there's just no other way to threaten the defense with ball handling. I mean, I don't know where it's coming from. Like, what are our better other plays? Like finding Greg Elliott, weaving his way through a defense for a spot up 3, or Justin Lewis, elbow post up, which
right.
He's been Justin Lewis has been fairly cool these last few games himself, only putting up.
Right. We could have used a very good game from him tonight.
Right.
Like, I feel like he is a matchup we could have exploited, whether it be down low or mostly down low. I mean, he's a pretty tough matchup for anybody on Villanova, and he just wasn't able to get it going tonight.
I want to talk about that, because before the game, we both had expressed some sentiments that this could result in a W from the Marquette boys if things.
Yeah, it's very embarrassing now that I was.
It is embarrassing that we both. Yeah, but in retrospect, I mean, look, if you look at the first 16 minutes of this game, we were right there. It seems like in our losses with Villanova, that's about how it goes. It's tied at 31, and then we lose by almost 31. I don't know. I just felt like there was the opportunity for us to hang around if things broke a little bit differently at the end of the first half. There was just kind of a few plays that went here and there, and then Villanova strung together a couple good possessions and kind of broke away in the last minute or so to head into halftime with all the momentum.
Well, we scored 2 points in the last 3 minutes, 45 seconds of the half. And those 2 points came with 4 seconds to go with a Theo John layup. So basically 4 minutes without a point to close the half.
So it's an ebb and flow. I mean, with this team, that's become apparently a go-to phrase for us. But last game, it was the offense was no problem. Offense was looked solid against Xavier, and in this game, the offense was rather pathetic, I guess you might say. like we've mentioned, it's not like Villanova has some kind of world-beating defense with Dikembe Mutombo, at center, not allowing anything in the paint. Like, this is a defense that you can pretty much run your offense.
Start with Dikembe Mutombo.
That's true. Every defense has Dikembe somewhere in their thoughts, shaking his finger above the rim somewhere.
Right.
He's not no RIP. He's still going strong for those of you out there that are worried. Dikembe is still with us.
Well,
he is. I don't know. It was a disheartening performance. Not surprising from the fact that there's been times throughout the season where elements of this team's game have gone wrong, and you're like, well, if it all goes wrong, this will, I think Brian probably said it, this will, result in a 20-plus point loss. And so it did. We can't say it enough. It wasn't some kind of explosive performance from Villanova. This was just a war of attrition, possession after possession of them playing smarter and knowing their game better and being better coached. And over the course of however many possessions were in this game, like, they just beat our ass on both ends in all facets.
Yeah, and like, you could argue that Jeremiah Robinson Earl is their most talented player, and we rendered him pretty much neutral for almost all the game. He kind of took it on, or poured it on at the end when the game was already decided, but he wasn't really a factor in them taking their lead. It was more definitely Gillespie and definitely Justin Moore, who played a pretty good game with 14 points. And Daniels, I thought, was very effective driving the ball and making the smart pass. And yeah, I mean, just a better overall team, better overall coached team. And
they
really thought that we were. What's that?
I said they put on a clinic. I was like,
yeah, they did. But the most aggravating thing is, like, we were there and we had a chance, and I thought we almost let them off the hook with that.
Yeah.
With that stubbornness of sticking to the zone by Wojo. And our players, none of our players had a very good game. That is very true. But Wojo didn't either, and the combination of those two led to the second half result.
I think the growth. So now we have a break. Let's just reset.
Georgetown.
Yeah, let me reset here for a second, because I think at the beginning of this season, I might have mentioned that this team would be lucky to go into Christmas with an over 500 record, and unfortunately, here we are sitting at 5-5.
We'll have to get the tape.
I mean, shit, if Marquette had beaten Villanova in this game, or knocked off one of Xavier and Seton Hall, they're sitting at 6-4, but still, like, kind of flirting with the receiving votes in the top 25 because of their significant wins. And we don't want to discredit those good wins that they've had against Wisconsin and Creighton. Those were solid. But the reality is we're sitting at 5-5 going into January. We are 1-3 in the Big East, which certainly, that sounds like something DePaul would have associated with.
Credit to us for already having played 4 games in the Big East.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You gotta put some games behind you this year. That's for sure. You never like to see a 3-game Big East losing streak or more. Hopefully we can stop the schneid here against Georgetown on Saturday, January 2nd. But
can
this
you
team
imagine
played as difficult of a December as it ever has. That's statistically true.
That's right.
They played a lot of good teams, both in the Big East and in non-conference, and it is what it is. I mean, you play a tough schedule, there's going to be losses. So,
Yeah, you just wish that we would have beat Seton Hall at home for sure.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one that really stings, especially right off the Creighton win. I do need to correct myself. I think I said nobody had a good game tonight, but Jamal, as Artie and Mark point out, Jamal did have a good game. But Jamal's not going to take over a game. That's not in his DNA. So if he has a good game, that's great. But many other people need to have good games for us to be successful. That didn't happen. So again, going forward, good Lord, we better beat Georgetown. Otherwise, there might be a mutiny on our hands.
This is the easy stretch of the schedule. Other than having Villanova against, we do have Villanova on Friday, January 8th, which, if you think about it, getting 3 of the 4 games against Nova and Creighton out of the way before you even hit January 9th, that is a nice luxury to have. But this next stretch throughout January, our January is definitely navigable, starting with Georgetown away. So this is at DC. Then we get UConn. Welcome UConn to the Fiserv as a member of the Big East. That's not going to be an easy game. Then we have Villanova on the 8th, and then Providence, St. John's, Georgetown, DePaul, Providence, Butler before Creighton again on February 6th. So there's definitely W's to be had there. Not a ton of cakewalks, never is in the Big East, but it's not Creighton and Nova over and over again. I don't know.
Right. And tough road games. But yeah, no. That's correct. And we need to stop the Schneid with a win at Georgetown. Definitely need to do that. And set ourselves up for a successful January, because this is where we need to beat the teams we need to beat. If we want to actually make the NCAA tournament this year, January is going to be huge for that. If we go 500, that's not going to be good enough, I don't think. With the losses that we've put on our resume now. Yes, there's not any really bad losses. But with the condensed season, it's just not going to be good enough as things shape up right now to go 500 against the bottom tier of the Big East.
To me, the next step for this team, so they have one Big East win, Creighton. The next step for me is, can this team string together 2, back-to-back Big East wins? Our first chance is going to be Georgetown and Connecticut before we hit Villanova, but that's something that this team needs to do. People harped on Wojo's record after we've had our big wins, typically followed it up with a loss against the next significant game that we've had. What can we expect from this team? Is it just going to be a roller coaster, or can they string together some winning streaks? I think that remains to be seen. But certainly this team and this roster should have a little bit different of a trajectory than our previous rosters. Obviously, to be expected that there's a bit of a rough patch here at the beginning. You got a team flush with freshmen, some guys continuing to gel together, a lot obviously in flux. I think that we need to see consistent growth over time with this team. It's going to be tough to examine a team like this that has so many moving parts on an individual game basis. And I think that that's what really this team is best examined at a high altitude level, and how this roster is coming together, because you're going to have games like this where nothing works and they get blown out. You're going to have a game where everything works and they win at Creighton. So we need to be, looking at the big picture and seeing, what these players are doing from their individual growth, what the team's doing. Unfortunately, the current trend is the defense has gotten much worse. The defense has not shown signs of life. The offense has come and gone, which we're happy to see explosions of offense in games like Creighton and Xavier, but the defense has now become non-existent. So what can we expect? Can we get the defense to rally and re-improve? Can we get the offense to show some semblance of consistency? Can we get consistency from DJ Carton and Dawson and Justin Lewis? It's going to take incremental growth from this team. It's going to take time. But at some point, you just have to string together wins. And that's going to be the real measure of whether these guys do put things together or not.
Yeah, Carton, I think, is our key. Mm-hmm. He's our most talented player. He gets wildly out of control at times. He needs to find that balance of aggression, assertion, but also in control. And because he's got offensive skills that nobody else has. And if he can find that mix with Kobe, contributing on a consistent basis, with Dawson finding his role, then I think it all kind of starts from DJ's position. The other thing is that, we don't have that reliable go-to scorer. So is it going to be him? Is it going to be Dawson? It's just going to have to be a team-oriented style right now, because nobody really has nobody wants to take that role, it seems, right now.
And I would argue that no one wants to take the role of aggressor on defense as well. Even Theo, it seems like he's shied a little bit away from his role as rim protector. He has, he's blocked his fair share of shots throughout the season, but there wasn't a time during this game where I felt like Villanova was challenged really at all in the paint.
They got him out of position for sure. He was chasing, and then he couldn't recover in time for his normal blocks that he's used to, and that's because Villanova keeps him moving.
That's really been his, and that's kind of how Creighton has neutralized him in the past as well. Putting him on skates between the perimeter and the paint, and that's something that we need from the rest of the guys. I think, I've kind of been asking for more minutes from Greg throughout the season. He's I thought played well in the limited minutes that he's had, but he's at least someone who is assertive on defense and is looking to make plays. And for a team, when you're playing Villanova and they end up with 4 turnovers on the game, like, at some point, you just have to put some defensive aggressors out there and cause some chaos, because there should never be a game where a team only has 4 turnovers. That's absurdly low. You're not doing enough aggressively on defense to cause chaos.
Just to throw in something positive here, now that you say that, I remember the game that I traveled to our senior year when we went to we played at Notre Dame and beat them with DJ and Jarrell and Wes and Mo Acker, and David Kubian, Lazar. And I'm getting the good vibes now, because I just felt like I needed to say those names to give me some good feels. But I believe we won that game and dominated.
I don't know if we lost me or we lost Neighbor. Are you there, Pete? Looks like Neighbor has frozen on us. The polar vortex may have frozen the internet in the central U.S. Hopefully our pal returns. We were just closing it out, and I know that Pete had some junk drawer action that he wanted to discuss. I'm going to update the YouTube stream here. Check out the chat in case anything happens. Yep, Artie's says neighbor froze. I'm going to go to the chat here in case neighbor returns. Neighbor left the room. Let's see. What do we got? People giving some love to Jamal. I respect that. Jamal brings the energy in every game.
Back?
Oh, you're back. What's up? We lost you for a minute. I was just combing through the chat to see if there was anything we were missing here.
Did you hear any of the game?
No. Once you did this with your fingers, then we lost you. So anything. I'm trying to rewind back to what you were saying. You were talking about the good vibes. Last word I believe you said was David Kubian.
Okay, yeah.
Go back to the beginning. Other than
sure.
You mentioned all the
names.
I
I just like to throw this little nugget of nostalgia to the Marquette fan base of the 2009 Marquette Notre Dame game at Notre Dame, our senior year, where Dominique, Jarrell, Wes, David Kubian, Mo Ackard, Lazar Hayward put it to Luke Herringody and the Fighting Irish, and I believe they only turned it over 3 times in that game. I was on the MU radio call with our very own Brian Henry and frequent YouTube commentator Kevin Botting, and that's just the I don't know the signal of a experienced, well-ran team is the ability to limit your turnovers like that, and Villanova has that. But I was also going to say that our defense now compared to Notre Dame's defense then should be much more talented, and it's just disappointing. So I started off high and then went back to the bad.
I think I am probably the least harsh on Wojo of anyone on this pod, and I would say on the friendlier side of the Marquette fan base as a whole. But that is my biggest gripe with Wojo is it never seems to be more than the sum of the parts of the team.
Exactly.
If not in the other direction. And there never seems to be that just random spark of chemistry between the guys. And to me, I tend to be a bit of a creative person. And I think that I've endured environments where it may not be conducive to that spark if for whatever reason the environment is too rigid, or the strategy or whatever techniques are forced or adhered to militarily, one might say. I don't know. I've never been in a Wojo practice. I've never played for him. I can't speak to it, but there definitely doesn't seem to ever be room for that organic flow of the team,
Right. Yeah. It's like, what I was thinking this week, and our commentators are talking about, we gutted out the Wisconsin win and we beat Creighton on the road. And those are great wins. It's like flat out great wins. Like Creighton,
no doubt.
We called it the best of the Wojo era, and I think we probably stand by that. But it's like what Wojo's career and what Wojo's teams have signified to me is just the epitome of mediocrity.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not good enough to appease the Marquette fan base, and it's not bad enough to where we, are like, okay, he's definitely needs to go. This is not acceptable. It's just somewhere in the middle where we have these flashes of brilliance and more flashes of ineptitude And it's maddening that we can't find the consistency that we all want and the identity that we all want.
See, personally, and I don't know how much I've intimated this throughout the podcast, but I'm of the philosophy that more of a team's performance, significantly more, has to do with the players than the coach. And I think that, I've made that somewhat clear, at least this year, and throughout Wojo's tenure. And I value Wojo's recruiting more than anything else. And I think, at least relative to the ranking systems and stuff, I think that no one would look at Wojo's recruiting record and say that he's underperformed from a recruiting standpoint.
That's definitely true.
And like, all I can ask for as a player, I wish I was a player. MU Intramural C League right here. As a fan, all I can ask for is that whoever the coach is that they're bringing in players that I'm excited to watch play. And I think that I've never been at a point where I'm like, Wojo's not bringing in enough talent, at least relative to those rankings or what the press tells us are decent players.
Oh, sure.
And it's frustrating because none of it ever seems to none of the players that Wojo has brought in has had their game sort of transcend whatever system. And I think that was one of the interesting things about like the Crean teams and even some of the Buzz teams is that, like, it was the guys on the court that you were like, that is that guy's game more than like, this is Buzz's coaching. You know what I'm saying? Or like,
yeah,
like during the Crean days, it was like, that's Dominique, Jarrell, and Wes. Like, that's their game that's being played. This isn't Tom Crean's game. And I think that is the most confounding thing. First of all, it pisses me off that everyone in the Marquette fan base is like, all of these losses are on Wojo. Like, and when everything goes bad, it's Wojo. Like, when it comes down to it, there's guys out there on the court whose names aren't Wojo who are playing these minutes. To me, as someone who's played sports, the responsibility is on you as a player to execute. You could talk about Wojo all you want, but that's just my philosophy. I'm frustrated with the fact that no one has ever been put in a position where their game can transcend whatever scheme Wojo is running. And that's kind of what I think you and I both are hoping for with DJ Carton, and he's shown flashes of it, is that his game is good enough that it doesn't matter what offense the team is running, that he's just a better player and he can beat guys and get to the hoop or put other guys in position to get open shots. Like, that's just good basketball. It doesn't matter who the coach is or what the scheme is. A guy who's a good penetrator, a good finisher at the rim is going to create open guys to pass to.
Right. And we see that potential for Dawson too.
Absolutely.
Like the way what game was it? I think it was maybe the UCLA game where he just had an easy, he scores 10 points easily.
Yeah.
Just because he's crafty and he's got very good footwork down low and he can score with both hands. He's that talented and that big where he can utilize his size to score an easy 10 points a game. And that's where what you're talking about is that, we need these skill sets from our players to mesh in that sort of fashion to where their abilities, blend with each other and complement each other to reach success.
Right.
And I just think that I think we need some.
They need some more run together. First of all, it was a short.
We do need that.
Let's talk about that.
But we we do need more. We do need more naturally gifted offensive players, wing players especially. Dexter Akano, we were hopeful for him. Samir Torrance, we were hopeful for him, and they're not contributing a damn thing.
I think Jamal has been about as good as we could have expected.
No, Jamal and Greg have played well this year, but and Kobe has played well, but Samir has been just a complete letdown. I mean, he doesn't look like he looks like a Derek Wilson, where he comes out and maybe he'll make some nice passes. It's extremely limited value, is what he brings, and
right. Yeah, Derek Wilson was at least like a major plus on defense. Samir Torrance is just
that's true.
Replacement level on defense, and I'm not trying to talk shit on players. Like I love our guys, and I respect Samir, his skills, but like there's no offensive threat.
Right.
That's been the issue, and
and
it's
Dexter,
like playing 4-on-5.
Right.
Dexter has taken time to get back in.
And Dexter is the same thing. He gets the ball in the wing and he passes it, and that's it. And Wojo put both of them in at the same time while we were up 5 tonight. It's like, why? Why did you do that? Yeah. That doesn't make any sense. So it's just a
confounding moments.
Confounding moments up and down tonight. Yeah, that just didn't end up well. So, with that, I think we've
talked for 54 minutes on this L.
Right. We've gotten it all out there. Let's lighten it up a little bit and maybe go to the drunk drawer. So I'll pull it out. Yeah. What do you got?
Pull out that drawer. I was peeping at the chat over here. Good call from Bykowski saying getting players is great, but doesn't mean a thing if you can't do anything with them. I mean,
yep,
that's what it is.
Ron Zook.
They can't get any. Let me say this: getting players is great, but if the players don't win, then they can't get anything out of those players themselves either. So I just want to put something on those players. Embrace the pain. I always embrace the pain. I am desensitized to losing.
And taste the pain.
Fan. Taste the pain for all the Red Hot Chili Peppers fans out there. I like Dirt also. It's probably an emotion that I and most Marquette fans are feeling right now.
So I would like to open the junk drawer and bring out a couple things from the junk drawer if you don't mind.
Go ahead. Everyone knows that I'm the bum of the junk drawer.
I will ease said Marquette pain tonight.
Oh,
by talking about
Field of Dreams take.
It is, yes.
Okay.
You might as well say, I will ease all Marquette fans' pain by saying that Dexter Akano improved his field goal percentage tonight by 33 percentage points. Just by tonight. Going into tonight, he was 0 for 4 from the field. And tonight, 2 for 2. He's now 2 for 6 from the field. And that's your silver lining from this blowout win.
Silver linings playbook right there. Is that going to have to be a bit? Oh, this was I was thinking of doing a new, I guess it would be a segment. I think I mentioned to the group in the chat, segment called As Hell, where each one of us offers a prompt where you have to respond with a simile. So essentially, moving forward for this Marquette Big East season, Pete, you are as excited as blank for the remainder of Marquette's Big East season?
I am as excited as somebody throwing oyster crackers at me at 1 a.m. at Real Chili, which means that I'm at Real Chili, so I'm having a good time. I know I'm, fairly intoxicated, enjoying my chili, but at the same time, aggravated that the person across from me is throwing oyster crackers at me.
That's a great answer. Do you have a as prompt for me?
Yes. Pete. Hold on. What do you think that sorry, let me start over. Jose Perez's game is as beautiful as
a mariposa. Jose Perez's game is as beautiful as a beautiful butterfly. A butterfly with muscle, though. I mean, he looks pretty built there on the hidden there on the bench. That's okay. Actually, you raise a good point. What about Jose? I mean, first of all, we're looking for ball handlers, and isn't that Jose's game? He's kind of like a scrappy combo guard.
I feel like he just bully balled and was a pretty good shooter against whatever conference Gardner Webb is in. What conference are they in? The
Sun Belt?
Hold on. Sun Belt? Big South. The Big South.
What am I
So
thinking?
he just kind of, sticks his booty into Big South opponents and creates space and gets shots off, and that's where his skills lie.
All right. Well, maybe we're misperceiving the caliber of Jose's game. But there had to be a reason he wanted to get eligible for this season and play. But I guess to answer your original question, Jose Perez's game is as beautiful as a mariposa or butterfly, for those of you who don't habla español. I don't know. I'm looking for answers from the guard play. Shit, throw them out there. I don't care.
Yeah,
I want more Greg Elliott in general.
We need more Greg. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. But Greg has been bad defensively lately. Kunkel made him look like a fool all day on Sunday.
Before after he hit a couple shots, he had a really weak closeout on Gillespie where he just walked over to him. I was you know what I'm talking about? Did you remember that? Mm-hmm. That was very strange from Greg to walk into a closeout. But I don't know, man. This team is going to be confounding everyone. I personally like the uncertainty.
It is kind of fun. You never quite know what's going to happen.
I went to Clemson for grad school, and I tell you what, I enjoy having Clemson to root for in football because it's you know what you're going to get every Saturday, and it's I can watch a bunch of competence. I can watch a well-executed college program on Saturdays and say, that's how it's supposed to be done. That's how you put your players in position to succeed. It's how you develop them. And so it's a frustrating juxtaposition to watch Clemson football and then primarily be a fan of Marquette basketball because there's some similarities in the programs, before Clemson's rise to popularity and success in this past decade. A school with a moderately funded program, won national championship, and I think that there have been some interesting mirrors of Marquette basketball and Clemson football in the past. But those two things have diverged significantly in the last 10 years. And Clemson has become a juggernaut, while Wojo has taken us into a mediocrity juggernaut. At the same
I don't
time.
give a shit about college football. So
Basically, what I'm saying is, why? Like, what is the difference, and why do I have to watch something so beautiful half the time?
we all feel
And
very
something
sorry.
so ugly.
All Marquette fans feel so sorry for you that you're also a Clemson football fan. I can just tell you that.
It's just, I don't know, like, what do I have to do to get something rewarding out of Marquette other than just some top 10 wins? I don't know. Maybe I'm just like, I don't care when they lose because I have wins coming from other places. I don't know. People get so pissed at Wojo. Like, what the why is that? Is it because it's their only thing in their life?
Well, it's because Buzz, his predecessor, had a lot more success, and Crean as well. I think that plays a major part. But also Marquette fans just have perhaps a
entitlement issue.
I don't know about entitlement, but well, maybe entitlement, but also just maybe unrealistic expectations. You could argue that. I'm not saying that we do, but at times it just feels like we may think that we are more of an elite program than we are, and like
you hit
we all. I think the thing is that we are all such passionate basketball fans. Like, this is our sport. This is what we do. It's our school sport. We love it. We throw everything that we have into it. We analyze it to death. I mean, we've done it for over an hour just for fun tonight, and we have people actually spending their life like watching us and commenting on it. And it's like a thing.
Hugely embarrassing for them.
That's and us, yeah. but it's like born into us, and so like we care about it immensely, and when it doesn't go well, it hurts, and so it hasn't gone how we wanted it to the last whatever number of years, and so it hurts, and we talk about it to death, and that's fine, but it's also fun because we love it and we're passionate about it, and I'm a little drunk, but we just love basketball, and so that's us. That's Marquette.
I seem to think that the losses are just the bumps in the road along the way. Eventually, you give this program another 100 years, we'll produce another national champion. Well, there's freaking 360 teams in college basketball. If you're getting one every 100 years, you're already, you're better than most. So right. I don't know. I love this team, and I love you guys, listeners. Sorry for waxing so at length for this time. It's been therapeutic for us, and we appreciate you guys all hanging out with us. I think we should bring this thing into official landing. What do you say?
Probably should. Thank you all for listening, for watching. Merry Christmas to all of you. We hope that your 2020, despite the coronavirus pandemic, has been a positive for you, whether however you can find the positives out of it, do it. And hopefully we've brought you a little entertainment, a little joy, and we will hope to continue to do so throughout the season, no matter how it unfolds.
And enjoy the next 9 or so days that we guarantee will be devoid of a Marquette loss. Make the most of this time with your friends and family and Zoom accounts. So thanks again for joining us. Again, Marquette falls to Villanova 85-68. It's painful, but we love you. Thanks for tuning in to the Marquette Basketball Podcast, Real Chili Podcast. Adios.
And subscribe to us
on YouTube.
And Apple Podcasts, wherever you find your podcasts, and tell your friends that you love us.